see we have a few members of the public in the gallery. You're more than welcome to stay throughout the meeting, but if you would like to go at any point, then please do so quietly. Okay, so today we're going to skip straight to the formalities. So just to let everybody know that we have got some public speakers today, and I believe they're here, so welcome, hello. And we'll go through the agenda. So, apologies for absence. Have we got any official apologies for absence? Nope. Marvellous. Declarations of interest. I believe we have a few. Councillor Hobson.
Yeah, I have a personal interest in agenda item 7 as I am a non-exec director of BCH.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams.
Yes, you're the same, Lady Mayor. The personal interest in agenda item 7 as director of BCH.
Thank you very much. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm exactly the same, Blackpool Coastal Housing, non-executive director, and I'm saying I've got a personal, whatever.
Personal interest, that is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
Any other declarations of interest for today's agenda? Marvellous. Okie dokie. The minutes held on the 25th of September 2019, pages 1 to 6. Can I ask that we confirm that they are a true and correct record? Fantastic. I've got no announcements today, so we'll go on to the public representations. So first of all, can I ask Hannah Eagleston, who's representing Head Start, to address the council. Just to let you know, Hannah, you'll have 5 minutes. So what will happen is this green light will come on when you've got a minute left to speak, and then the red light will come on to tell you to sit down. It's all right, don't worry, the councils have to abide by these same rules as well, so you're not the only one. Welcome, Hannah. It's nice to see you here today. I've seen some of the work that you guys have been doing, so it's great that you're here to tell everybody else about all the work you've been involved in. So by all means, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Hannah, and I'm one of the co-leaders of the Blackpool Beating Bullying campaign. I'm involved in this campaign because I believe that young people are the future, and we have the ability to make a change for the better in Blackpool. Unfortunately, bullying occurs in some schools, and I believe that in order to decrease the levels of bullying, it is something that needs to be spoken about. Communication is key, as a problem shared is a problem halved. More than 16,000 young people are absent from school as a result of bullying, which is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this campaign. Education is a crucial time for a young person and sets them up for their future. Therefore, the fact that students are missing school due to bullying is a factor that needs to be tackled in order to make schools work as well as possible for all students. I would like to share Blackpool Beating Bullying across Blackpool in order to work together towards beating bullying. So what is Blackpool Beating Bullying? It is a campaign that was set up for young people by young people. A group of us came together on our summer residential in 2018, and we decided on 2 campaigns that we would like to take forward. We chose to focus on wages and bullying. As a group, we highlighted that bullying is a massive issue that most young people face at some point in their life. We want to change this, and with your help, we will. A small group of us meet fortnightly to look at how we can help support schools, teachers, parents or carers and young people to all come together with a shared goal of reducing bullying for young people in our town. The Charter Mark is the first co-produced charter mark in the UK that focuses on bullying. It has 3 tiers, bronze, silver and gold. The tiers get harder to achieve as the levels go up. The overall aim is to change the very system that is currently in place to deal with bullying in schools. We don't want to focus on the individual matter of bullying, rather the system that surrounds it. So now you know what the campaign in the Charter Mark is, why is it important? As you should all know, at Head Start and the Resilience Revolution, we are all about changing the odds rather than just beating them. This is our way of changing the odds for all young people across our town. We no longer want to focus solely on the individuals that encounter bullying, we want to focus on the systems that surround it. This charter mark is important for so many young people across the town. It provides them with hope and something to believe in. It allows those very young people that suffer in silence as a result of bullying to believe that change is on the horizon. It will also allow so many young people to feel safe at school. We now have a total of around 13 schools that are on board or shown interest in the charter mark. This is something we are really happy to share, and we hope it will continue to grow. Our group is continuing to meet. We have further developments in the pipeline, and I'm pleased to say we now have more members, some of which are younger and can input more towards our primary school charter mark. I'm going to share with you a few of the ideas that our group have come up with. We are looking into creating a resource booklet for schools. This will have worksheets and activities for teachers, parents, young people and governors that can help challenge bullying in the school's current systems that are in place. Another idea that has come up is about 10 key principles to preventing bullying. Why are we only focused on bullying once it's happened? As a group, we have decided that we want to look more into the preventions that teachers and school can put in place. So watch this space. Now we want your help. We can't do this alone. We need your help to spread the word of Blackpool beating bullying. We need you to wear these wristbands and show people that you will no longer tolerate bullying too. We need you to share our video on social media, to share our posts, and to most importantly, get schools to be part of our charter mark. I am here today to ask for your help. This is something we have been working on for the last 18 months, and is something I am really passionate about. However, we need to change the system, the whole system, from the bottom up, and we cannot do this without you. We don't need help with funding, we just need your help in sharing the charter mark and trying to get schools to realise the importance and value of it. We really hope you will be able to publicly support us on this. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Hannah. You speak better than some of the politicians I know around the country, so follow that if you dare. Well done, Hannah. And to respond to you, we have Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, how to follow that? You did great. And we all appreciate it's difficult coming into this space, this chamber, but you did brilliant. Thank you. So here we all understand the impacts of bullying on a child or a young person, how it affects them, not just in their childhood, but the lasting effects can last through with them to adulthood. Not only those who are being bullied, the perpetrators, we know that they are also have links with, with anxiety, depression, exclusion from school. And of course it's those who aren't even involved in the bullying. The school, the community of the school are all affected. It creates an environment of distrust. So the significance of this campaign is not lost on us here, and we appreciate the importance of it. Some of us here will remember their youth easier than others. I'm trying not to catch anybody's eye in particular. But there have been so many changes, societal changes, that impact those pressures upon young people and children, that I think sometimes we can struggle to grasp an understanding of how young people and children communicate, how they socialise, how they interact. And I think in the midst of all of that, we sometimes forget that as we would say for us, as is now, that our young people do very much care for their friends, their classmates, their schoolmates, their school, their communities. And therein, and you stole my line, I was going to say the importance of this, the significance of this campaign, the Charter Mark, is that it is by children and young people, for young people. It's true co-production. I know that they say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but this model will be used as the future of service development across children's services, as in the true sense of co-production. I think we've always appreciated that co-production is incredibly important, but we've had a knack of consulting and then arriving at the end and presenting something and going, ta-da, when it really actually doesn't fit the purpose. So the other, I think, significant thing in this is that this is the first in the country. There are, I think, a couple of others down south. I'm not bothered about those. But this is the first in the country that has within it children's and young people's voices, their opinions, their views. So we are very committed to co-production. It will take time, but we're already looking how that we can deliver, the best bits from the learning of Head Start from when the funding does end. So you should be very proud of yourselves. We're very proud of you, and I'm sure the town will be. And we will all spread the word. We will wear the bracelets. And for those who understand what I'm talking about, you need to get the hashtag going. So. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I've seen a few of our colleagues this evening that are already wearing their wristbands. You'll be pleased to know, Hannah. He's got yours on as well. Thanks, Hannah. See you later. Okay, so our next public speaker is Mike Crowther. Mike, you're used to this. Yes, you do have a time limit. No, I don't have an option when I can stop you. So this time you really do have a time limit. I'm very pleased to welcome Mike here this evening. He is obviously the Chief Executive of Empowerment, which is my mayoral charity this year. So thank you, Mike, and go ahead.
Lady Mayor, thank you very much. And it really is 5 minutes, is it? Yes, okay. Okay. Well, thank you. And as Lady Mayor just said, that my name is Mike Crowther, and it's my privilege to be the Chief Executive of Empowerment. One of Blackpool's best kept secrets is we've been a charity in one form or another since 1995. And we're an advocacy charity, which is about making sure that people's voices are heard to get the rights respected and the support and treatment which they need. Funded by Blackpool Council, we have the Blackpool Advocacy Hub, which is working across Blackpool in hospitals, care homes, in schools, and a whole number of facilities and places where people live, where we have very vulnerable individuals, very often with very serious mental health issues, with dementia, learning disabilities. And when decisions are being made about their future, about their treatment, about their care and about where they live, very often if they do not have the ability or the confidence to communicate their needs and wishes, very often they don't get the support which is their right. So our team of advocates journey by their side to make sure that whenever there's appointments, whenever decisions are being made, actually their voice is being heard. Okay, so that's the importance of advocacy, is that people's voices need to be heard and their rights respected. A couple of projects which I just want to talk about, because I can literally talk about empowerment for a long time and I'm not going to. But first of all, one of our projects, which we're very proud of, is called The Den. And this supports children and young people who've been affected, lives torn apart by domestic abuse in the home. These are very often traumatised young children. And our team of Den workers actually work with these children one-to-one or in group settings to actually start rebuilding their lives. And also there's a big emphasis on providing opportunities for those children and young people just to have fun, just to make new friends. So the Den is about rebuilding people's lives. And very much like Head Start, the child is at the heart of that support. And what we have to remember is that if those children are not supported, if those children are not cared for, then actually the problems in later life will revisit them. So the Den is all about rebuilding people's lives. The second project is called Motivate 2, and this is the particular project which Lady Mayor wants to fundraise for this year. Motivate 2 has been set up and is being run by a group of adults who've experienced throughout their lives serious mental health issues. And they remember the time when they were in hospital or whether they were in the harbour and decisions were being made about their future and nobody was listening to them. Nobody took them seriously. So they've said together that actually they don't want anybody else in Blackpool to have that similar experience. So they've set up what's known as a peer advocacy project to actually journey alongside people, very often who are in hospital, people who've been sectioned, to actually be their voice, to actually say to that person, you are not alone, I'm here for you. And what we find is that actually when people's voices are heard, when their rights are respected, then those people can get the treatment and support which they need to get better. The fantastic thing about Motivate 2 is that it's people who've been through very difficult experiences now doing something positive. And that, for me, is the best of what Blackpool is about. We take our experiences and we say we now want to make things better for other people. So that's his empowerment in a nutshell. I'd love people to come and visit us at the Empowerment Base. You can find us on the website. There's 1,001 things I could say, and I'm not going to, Lady Mayor. But again, I just want to thank the support that we get from the Lady Mayor, from Blackpool Council, and from a number of other funders, without whom we won't be able to do this amazing work. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That has got to be the first time you have not used your entire time that you've been allowed to speak, Mike. Well done, I'm proud of you. It's a running joke. Often we do fundraising activities and Mike will speak and he doesn't understand what 5 minutes is. So well done, Mike. On behalf of the council to respond is Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Lady Mayor, and thank you, Mike, for coming and addressing us. As people will know, I previously worked with the homeless, with children with disabilities and with adults with learning disabilities, and have trained as a social worker. And in all of those environments, advocacy services were extremely important to the service users that we were seeking to work with. The council has a long history of working with empowerment. Mike's talked to us about Motivate 2 and the Den, but of course we work together on Health Watch, on the Time to Change programme, and empowerment also support a number of apprenticeships, both within the Head Start team and elsewhere. There's little to add to what Mike has had to say, other than to thank not only all of the staff at Empowerment, but crucially the many volunteers who work for them as well. This is one of those services which simply couldn't exist without the help of volunteers. So I'd like to say thank you to them on behalf of the council, but also on behalf of the people of the town and all of those people that they support. We will, of course, continue to work with Empowerment, with its staff, with its volunteers and with its service users, not just to make sure that everybody in Blackpool has a voice, but that that voice is heard. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn, and abusing my privilege slightly at this moment in time. As we were talking about empowerment, I just wanted to remind people, whether they've seen the invite or not, I'm not sure, but the ball this year for the Mayoral charity will be on the 21st of March, and it will be held at the Winter Gardens at the Spanish Hall. So if anybody's not seen the invitation or wants to ask me anything about it, then please do come and see me afterwards. Okay, so we will move on to executive reports. So first up we have the Leader of the Council, Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you very much, Lady Mayor. Happy to present my report to full council. Just to highlight a few items. Members will notice that in the budget which is proposed, which we will discuss in a few weeks' time, 86% of the council's budget is now spent on statutory services, those services that we are legally obliged to provide. And some 3/4 of the budget is spent on adult social care and children's social care. Now, earlier on in this year, all of us, to a greater or lesser degree, were out knocking on doors and talking to the public. And we all know that actually the pressure that they put us under is about the remaining 25% of that spend. Very seldom want to talk to us about adult social care or children's social care. It's that 25% that they want to talk to us about. And as that gets squeezed and squeezed over the years, our ability to respond to the demands of the public becomes less and less. So this really is an issue for us. I'd like to congratulate our officers as well, senior and junior. If we exclude children's services and the peculiar set of circumstances that we find ourselves under, all of the council departments are underspent in year to the tune of £2.5 million. That is excellent budgeting and excellent operational management. So thank you to all of them. Members may have heard talk of additional money coming to us from the government for social care. Just to be clear that that additional money covers a whopping 30% of the in-year pressures that our social care system is under. And if the government's fair funding formula goes forward as is suggested, the indicative figures would suggest that we lose a further £6.3 million next year. Now, I'm assured that our members of Parliament are going to work very hard to make sure that that doesn't come to pass. I'd just also like to note that our council tax collection rate has remained virtually where it was last year, but our business rate collection rate has got even better, and we had a particularly good year last year. We have launched the Blackpool Museum, a day that I haven't been sure was ever going to come. It was a marvellous event. I want to thank everybody that's involved, members of staff, again, hundreds of volunteers, but particularly Heather Morrow, who has seen this through from the very off. We've had meetings. I've done a site visit on the Blackpool Central site. You will see that we've now exchanged contracts on that site. Delighted to work with Media Invest, Nicole and Scruffy Dog on that. And also welcome questions on the main body of my report, but also my new domain of adult social care, Lady Mayor, which is the one part of the council that in 17 years I've had no direct contact with. But I will do my best to answer all and any questions. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Yeah, good luck. It's not a small one, if I remember rightly. Okay, so questions. We'll start, please, with page 9. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I was delighted to hear that the leader's oratory report was much better than the one he's written out. It's regrettable to see jobs being lost, and it's important in this process that the delivery of frontline services is not impacted. The narrative that has surrounded every budget announcement in recent years has always been heavily politicised, seeking to lay the blame of the issues on the authority it faces at the government's door. This is disappointing. And it does not reflect the continued policy of Blackpool Council of borrowing and spending on areas well outside its statutory duties. What has become apparent, Lady Mayor, is a very significant need for intervention to address many years of mismanagement in the authority's children's services, culminating in a heavily critical and devastating Ofsted report and direct government intervention. Investment to solve these issues is welcome, but has come far too late. The task being faced and the investment required to resolve the significant issues within the department are of a much greater magnitude due to several years of inaction. Rectifying the situation now comes at a significant cost to the public purse, and sadly it results in others suffering. Wasn't it the leader of this council who, when we received the first damning Ofsted report, publicly stated he experienced sleepless nights and considered resigning, but then decided against it as he was the only one who could fix it? Well, I wonder if he wants to revisit those thoughts, as quite simply, he hasn't fixed it. Perhaps if this council hadn't wasted £100,000 on a useless car park at Devonshire Road, almost £2 million on a failed Gary Barlow switch-on, £68,000 to bail out the Pride event, £1 million on a botched demolition at the Syndicate, a further £1 million on an unused gym at Bickerstaff House, a further few £100,000 on a dodgy skip-hire business, lost thousands on a loan to Viva, and lots of possibly other costly failures, which have yet to be uncovered. They may have that case been in a better financial position and not being created so many job losses. The council's financial model is to borrow off Peter to pay Paul. Well, pretty soon Peter's pockets are going to be empty, just like the very large safe at the Treasury when Labour were booted out. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other questions on page 9? No, okay. Page 10. Councillor Mrs Callow.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. If I can just throw something into the debate, I do agree with the leader that the cuts for the benefits are horrendous for people in Blackpool. And unless you've actually been on benefits or on very low wages, then you've no idea how it is to struggle. But there is just something that's been baffling me, and I don't want you to think I'm being mischievous, but I'm just wondering why, with a town, with the deprivation that we've got, how they can return 2 Conservative MPs at the general election in December. What was the reason for that? It wasn't just Brexit. So it's something that really has puzzled me, that we've now got 2 Conservative MPs here in Blackpool. And I do hope, Lady Mayor, that they do listen to this council and listen to the problems that we've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Callow. Councillor Clapham.
Lady Mayor. It's on the business rates and the collection. The leader's just stated that we are in a good position in terms of the collection of this particular rate. But 629 summonses have been issued in that sector, and in the future I think we're going to be collecting the business rates, which is going to be important for our income. What sort of sum does the leader expect to write off at the end of this particular system?
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's more of an economics question than a political one, if I may, Lady Mayor, and links both to the council tax collection and the point raised in the financial monitoring statement by the leader. My question really is, should we be more radical in our capital investment strategy in terms of the areas that we're investing in? We have on the one hand areas that are generating great demand on the services, both the statutory and non-statutory, and at the same time we have certain of those areas returning minimal amounts of council tax. So from an economics perspective, we already have My Blackpool Homes and other property schemes set up to take on problem housing, problem areas, but are they radical enough to actually fix this economic issue? And the economic issue is less return and great demand. So therefore, the answer for me is that the investment strategy should be radical around actually not just buying up houses on individual streets, but actually whole areas, in the same way our Victorian forebears did with similar issues. And the idea being that not only will we reduce demand on our own services, but we'll see a greater return on council tax income. So it's been brave, it's been radical, and at some point, it may not be the next few years, but it will return a far greater sum, and it will answer the two questions. And I would say to Councillor Callow, who's saying why would those areas vote Conservative? That's why they would vote Conservative, because they have an investment idea that will help deal with some of the issues of poverty and squalor and all the inequalities that the people of this town suffer from, and that it's not just a socialist solution, it can be a capitalist one, but an investment one that enriches the poor from the conditions they find themselves in. But I say at the very, very heart of our investment strategy, we need to be radical. So from an economics perspective, Lady Mayor, I would really encourage the leader to think not just about the next few years, but the next generation, and that involves being even more radical with the investment strategy we have around those areas in a Blackpool.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Any other questions on page 10? Page 11. Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I want to applaud the leader on this and the council, the work that's been done on Fibre Blackpool. And I do, because a while ago I said, we need a brand for this, we need a name, we need something that we can actually sell this on. And we now have Fibre Blackpool, which is, in one simple term, something that the public and investors will get. And it is a full fibre revolution for the town. Yeah. And just the sort of thing we talk about in terms of this long-term investment strategy. However, one of the questions I had for the leader, Lady Mayor, was whether or not we had enough power to serve a data centre in that area, because these things are very greedy beasts. Fantastic, but they do eat a lot of power. And the idea around, when you look at Cambridgeshire, which leads the way in data centres, is that you actually end up creating data centre clusters. So you get one, another will come, and another will come, and then you start getting rack builders and all the secondary support industries to those data centres. So great, but we have to make sure the electric supply to this space is huge. So the next question, following up the first, which he's done a huge amount of work and success in terms of where we've got to with this and the team that he's allowed to do it. But the next question is to make sure we're working with all the utility companies to make sure we really let this fly.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Any other questions on page 11? Page 12. Councillor Tony Williams.
Lady Mayor, just following on from my colleague, Councillor Galley, my son is what they call a CAD designer, and he's working on this very contract at the moment, and he's well on with designing what he calls the packs. I presume that's the packs of where these things are going, so that's great. I just got a couple of questions about Central Blackpool. Some of the build here is not going to be finished till 2029. Now, it's been said before, Chariots of the Gods, Eric von Däniken, he wrote that book in 1968. It's a little bit out of date now. And can I tell you that Dubai, their flying theatre at the moment is not working. And the one at Universal has been decommissioned. There's also one in Bruges, which is very underused. And the reason why I'm saying this is because technology moves at such a high pace. It's ridiculously fast, if you just learned from the fibre that we were talking about. And one of the things within this ride is virtual reality. But by the time this is built in 2028, whatever, you might as well sit with your legs dangling from the edge of the table with your iPhone elastic banded to your ears and a hairdryer blowing in your face, because that's what that technology will look like in 6 years' time. We quoted as being 300k, and this is the hub of my question. No one's seen a breakdown of what this 300 million is going to buy or going to best. We've just had a lump that it's going to be this. But somebody's come up with a figure. Somebody says 300 million. Can we please see a breakdown of where this 300 million is going to and what it's going to be spent on? I'm sure the first part of it will be a car park. But I just wonder what's going to happen after that and what's worth 300 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on page 12? Page 13? Councillor Galley? Close, Don. Close.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's just to follow up on the Blackpool Central site, but it feeds onto page 13. The bit that concerned me in this particular part of the report, and I applaud the leader for his honesty in referring to it, was the issue of the magistrates and county courts site. Now, we've all already suffered in terms of on other locations through the complexity of negotiating with different landlords and different contracts and consultants and all the pain that brings. My question is, how will we avoid such a trap with that, and who will pay for the relocation, and where would the magistrates likely to go?
Thank you very much. Councillor Clapham. Oh, well, there you go, see? Any other questions on page 13? Page 14? Page 15? Page 16? General questions? Councillor Mrs Callow.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Well, first of all, I'd like to say how delighted I am to see that the Old Clifton Hotel is having a revamp. And I'm absolutely delighted, and I hope it's worth it. But if I can just comment on the state of the town hall, and in particular, the side along Corporation Street. We've got 2 notice boards there on the wall, and they're a disgrace. There's nothing inside them, and the glass on the outside has had things stuck on and peeled off. And really, as a council, is there nothing that we can put in there? We've got some absolutely wonderful hoardings on West Street Car Park advertising all the future attractions. And whoever does those needs to be congratulated, because they're absolutely fantastic. Could we not have some miniature ones of those? Or even just something, just advertising some of our attractions? But it really is very sad. And also, the door. It needs a varnish, I'm sorry. And also, the steps are filthy. They need a scrub. And I'm not volunteering to do it, I'm sorry. Absolutely no way, because I get bleach all over the place. But that would only cost perhaps a couple of £100 to varnish that door, and it would make all the difference in the world. I do feel that the town hall is looking slightly sad. After visiting other town halls and civic centres recently, you know, it is a great pity. I understand that money's in short supply, but surely we could just find a few £100 just to smarten it up. It really is a very bad advert for Blackpool when you walk past. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general questions? Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's in respect of Keith Berry. I'm aware that the Cabinet Member for Children's Services will be mentioning him in her report. But in 2008, the Council created what is known as the Blackpool Medal, and it's for people that achieve great things on behalf of Blackpool residents. And if I may quote, please, that a couple of criteria are for people that are born in, lived in or work in or have strong links with Blackpool. And the second criteria is somebody who has made a key and recognised contribution to the borough as a whole or to its communities beyond which is expected of its citizens, or has achieved regional or national significance and may, in doing so, promote Blackpool. I think we don't give out this medal enough times because there are numerous people in the borough that I think would be worthwhile getting the medal. So I believe Keith Berry, and probably most of us in this chamber, have been to the school and seen the wonderful work he and his colleagues do there. And it's great he's won the Pearson Education Award, a nationally recognised award. But I'd just like to ask the leaders, please, to give serious consideration to Keith Berry being given the Blackpool Medal. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. A couple of questions. Very sadly, and I'm sure the leader knows I'm pretty sad about this, I go through the transparency figures for spends over 250 on a regular basis, and I've come across a payment which I was just curious about. We're paying APCO car parks or APCO car parks £14,000 a month for unused and reserved spaces. As far as I'm aware, the only APCO car park we've got is Wilkins. I believe that's the only one. I just wondered, is this for staff car parking we're subsidising? Are we getting the same amount back from staff car parking? If you could clarify that. And I just want to add, in regard to Councillor Coleman's remarks about the Blackpool Medal, you may have read a few weeks ago that there was a paramedic who, while travelling to a job, could smell smoke. And he and his partner stopped their vehicle, called for vehicle backup to go to the job they were going to, and there was a flat on fire on the first floor of a block of flats. He went in and he and his colleague woke everyone up and got them out, 20 to 5 people. He suffered throat burns through it, ended up in hospital, but didn't even sort of report it. It was picked up by the Gazette as a human interest story. And I think we should also look at awarding this particular chap some sense of recognition for his bravery. I'm going to be doing the same to the fire authority when I go there, and I think whether or not the police should, because undoubtedly, if he hadn't stopped and raised the alarm, it could have been an extremely serious incident. And as it is, we can probably say he saved a few lives. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other general questions? Okay, Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm sorry, but not surprised, that Councillor Williams is disappointed that we are investing heavily in Blackpool. I have to say that I do not share his disappointment. The cost of investing in children's social care and responding to Ofsted's findings is what it is. If the council is not prepared to make that level of investment, then we might as well pack up and hand the keys over to somebody who is. I would point out as well to Councillor Williams and to a number of his colleagues in the Conservative Party who imply that in some way this is due to financial mismanagement by this authority, that figures from the LGA quoted in the House of Commons very recently suggest that 95% of all children's social care authorities are overspent in year. This is about a national crisis in children's social care. The difference is that here in Blackpool, we are responding to it, and we are responding to it robustly. That this council, Lady Mayor, is able to plough that sort of money into children's social care actually demolishes Councillor Williams' argument entirely, because it is a clear demonstration of the prudential financial management of this council that we are able to make such an investment. Councillor Mrs Callow, far be it from me to try and interpret the minds of the electorate. I shall confine myself to saying that I too share your hope that our two Conservative MPs will deliver on their promises and will fight for the people of Blackpool. Councillor Clapham wants me to try and guess how much business rates I'll be writing off at the end of the year. It'll come as no surprise to him, Lady Mayor, or anybody else to discover that I'm not going to do that. What I will say, however, is that it is not the council's fault that businessmen and women welch on their debts. and that a number of high-profile businesses in this town have gone bust, failed to pay substantial six-figure sums of business rates, and then suddenly reappeared a matter of weeks and months later. That is scandalous, and that is something that I would hope we'd all be able to agree on. Everybody should pay their business rates, Councillor Clapper. I'm sure you'd agree with me. So every penny that we have to write off is appalling, and every penny is another penny that we have to take out of the pockets and the purses of the people of Blackpool when these businesses could more than afford it. Councillor Galley, should our investment strategy be more bold? I have to say to him, the current investment strategy is far too bold for the leader of his group. So we'll need to reach some sort of accommodation there. I don't immediately see the correlation between investment and council tax take, unless you're talking about buying up or investing in big houses that pay more council tax. Is that what you're talking about? Sorry? Well, I was seeking clarification, Lady Mayor, because if that is what he's talking about, if he's talking about providing better quality houses, which will pay more in the way of council tax, then I think he will do well to visit the multi-award-winning Queen's Park Estate redevelopment, where we've taken out up to 700 units of poor quality housing and replaced them with 300 units of high quality housing. We are, in our medium-term financial strategy, in our treasury management strategy, widening the area that we will consider investing in from just Blackpool and the surrounding areas out to the Northern Powerhouse. So were an investment opportunity to come up elsewhere in the Northern Powerhouse that we felt we could make money out of, we'd consider it. But I have to say that would be in very exceptional circumstances. Lots of councils invest their money out width of their boundaries. I much prefer to invest that money here in Blackpool, where we get to reap not just the financial benefits, but the social and employment benefits as well. We only have one investment out width of Blackpool, which is in Preston. But we are, in our treasury management strategy, we are allowing ourselves that option. But if you want us to invest at greater scale, I suggest that you ask your MPs and your party leader to stop complaining about our levels of borrowing, because that, as you surely know, is the only way we could do it. Councillor Galley, thank you for your compliments. Sadly, nothing to do with me, but I shall take them anyway. Members may know that I'm on a diet. I'd initially thought that Fibre Blackpool was a breakfast cereal. Apparently it isn't. But I say two things to him about power at the enterprise zone. Firstly, delighted to tell him that there is a new substation on order for the enterprise zone. Secondly, were we in the early stages of planning a bold, radical investment in a carbon-neutral, sustainable energy source for the enterprise zone, I couldn't possibly tell him about it. Councillor Williams, you talk about Eric von Daniken's book. The book is not as outdated as your patter, I have to say, because you say the same thing at every meeting. The Flying Theatre will be of a nature which does not currently exist. You are talking about flying theatres based in certain locations which have certain levels of technology which their operators have made decisions about. This in no way affects ours. You say that the flying theatre is going to be virtual reality. It isn't. 4D flying cinemas, as I've tried to explain before, I'm going to explain it in a very graphic way in the hope that you can remember. Virtual reality, flying theatres are marvellous, marvellous things, but they make people vomit. That's why we're not having a virtual reality flying theatre. He doesn't know where the £300 million figure comes from. Not for the first time, Lady Mayor. It's not my responsibility that Councillor Williams doesn't pay attention. Councillor Galley, we and the Ministry of Justice have a site in mind. I'm not going to tell you where it is. We are negotiating about how we finance that, but frankly, it's the MLJ's court. They need to dispense justice. My rather simplistic view is that they should build a court. But we are talking to them about that. And funnily enough, I met with the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner this morning to assist us in our lobbying of the MLJ and of both of our MPs, following on from Councillor Mrs Callow's point, to make sure that they deliver for the people of Blackpool on this. Councillor Mrs Callow, the Clifton Hotel, I'm happy that you're happy, but every time I drive past it, I think, what are they doing under that scaffolding? And when they take the wraps off it, is she going to be happy? So I'm both pleased and nervous at the same time. But it was one of the happiest days of my time on this council when I saw them erecting the scaffolding, I can tell you that. The notice boards on Corporation Street, I have to say I agree with you. I've got to be honest, Lady Mayor, and I hope I don't upset anybody, lots of people have lots of affection for the town hall as a building. I've got to say I'm not one of them. And if it was down to me, given our financial position, it'd be a Wetherspoons tomorrow. But, as you can tell, I'm one of the few. I'm one of the few that thinks that, so I think it's safe for the time being. But I absolutely take your point. I don't think we could replicate anything like the boards that you see in West Street Car Park. I don't think we could replicate on the side of the town hall because of the heritage status of Talbot Square and the fact that is this a listed building? I think this is a listed building. Yeah. Apparently, so it couldn't become a Wetherspoons. But as regards the steps and the front doors, as somebody famously said, I'll fetch a cloth. We'll see what we can do. Councillor Coleman talks about the Blackpool Medal. These matters, so things like the Blackpool Medal, freedom of the borough, etc., are discussed between group leaders from time to time. And those discussions are confidential for the very good reason that we would not want to embarrass anybody whose name was discussed in public who then didn't go on to receive that for many reasons. For any reasons. There is a precedent for this, as a council in Merseyside publicly stated that they wanted to offer a very famous footballer the freedom of the borough, and then that caused political division within the council, and in the end the offer was withdrawn. So I'm sure the person he's talking about would not want anything like that to happen. He's given us one name. I could add 100 names to that list. So many people do so much wonderful community work within the town. The same answer really to Councillor Williams. I too, you and I are fellow members of the Fire and Rescue Authority. We get to see on a regular basis the bravery of our firefighters. I would join you in commending that firefighter for the incredible work and the large-scale loss of life that was the large-scale paramedic, the large-scale loss of life that was potentially prevented in there. It's truly amazing. The Atco car park, I too assume that is Wilkinson's, and I further assume that some deal was done around car parking at the time that we acquired the building. But I don't know that, so I shall write to him and all other members with a more precise answer. I think that's it, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Councillor Campbell to present her report.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Happy to present my report and take any questions. But if I may, members will note the last paragraph of my report, which talks about changes to community safety. And with that, I would just like to add something about Paolo, if I could. Further to the celebration event held at the Winter Gardens, where friends, family and colleagues championed his numerous achievements, it is poignant to remember how lucky we were to have Paolo as part of our council family. He was such a colourful and vibrant character that always took time to take an interest in everyone he came into contact with. Paolo believed and saw the good in everyone and recognised that people suffering from substance misuse and mental health issues were often a product of their own challenging circumstances. He believed that everyone should have a second chance and worked tirelessly within the drug and alcohol field to transform services offered and streamline how things were done. He's the only person I have ever met that had an award named after him, which is to continue to be presented in his honour. Paolo championed changing the mindset from locking them up to helping people on a path to recovery, regardless of this being an unpopular stance with some. Paolo was a real social justice warrior well before it was in vogue. and has left a lasting legacy in the council and our town. I personally shall miss our chats about our experiences of both being Goths and our shared love of David Bowie. He may be gone, but he will certainly never be forgotten. And wherever he may be now, I hope he's at peace. Thank you, Lady Mayor. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Questions on page 17, please. Councillor Mrs Callan.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. There's reference on here to the new conference centre. I wonder if Councillor Campbell can tell the council when will it open, and at this moment in time, how many conference bookings that we've got, and are we getting very many enquiries? And when people enquire, do they come to fruition? Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Following from Councillor Callow's point, as a recently elected member, a former Labour councillor said to me, Gerard, one of the things you must look for when you're dealing with the council or the opposition is the devil is in the detail, or should I say, the lack of detail. Councillor Campbell submitted a report, and the only thing she's put in there is, I'm pleased to tell you our preparations for the new conference centre are continuing. The end. There is no update after all these months of kicking the same narrative down the road. We all know businesses rely on certainty. With such a heavily investment for the town, there should be more detail in that report of where we are with the conference. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm staying on the same subject because I've heard, and I'd like the portfolio holder to confirm or deny, that the contractor and the designer are actually in litigation, and it's come to a grinding halt. The chances of the conference centre being open in April are virtually nil. So can we have a revised date? We've had assurances from the leader in the past that it will be open by April. Obviously, if there are problems, then why not let us know what they are and what we're doing to combat it? And if the problem's out of our control, then we can understand.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any on page 18? Oh, Councillor Clapham, go on, then I'll let you. I wonder if I could preempt what you're going to ask.
No, you can't, no. Not a chance. I'll give you 3 minutes. No, it's only a small item, really. It's on the minor adaptions. It is a shame if that's the adaptions that are going on in properties that belong to us. I don't know, there's no description. I would have thought that we would have managed to get a local firm to do that. But overall, the number of bidders in FY is only 5 for the whole list, which, you know, apathetic is probably the word. It is a shame that we do not get people locally bidding for our contracts. You know, we're all the time trying to get local people into jobs, driving the economy, and we've got people in business who don't seem to be interested. Sad.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Any more on page 18? Page 19. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. It's in relationship to the resort pass, and we keep hearing all the time in the resort, on average 14, anything, the numbers between 14 to 18 million visitors. I find it really strange that Councillor Campbell in the Chamber can champion 19,000 resort passes with a visitor estimated numbers of 18 million. If you looked at that in percentage terms, it's 0.1%. If it was 250,000 resort passes sold across the resort through a season, I would think, yeah, okay, that's something to champion. But 19,000, as much as I believe we've got a good package, are Blackpool Council looking at this? Have they got plans to try and up those numbers? Because that, for me, is certainly nothing to shout about. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. That was indeed page 19. Councillor Williams, did you wish to ask a question? Well, it's fine. That's Fine. So, would you like to ask a question on page 19, Councillor Williams? Okay. Anybody on page 19? No. Page 20, Councillor Williams.
I'm staying with the same subject. I agree, champion 19,000. It does seem a little bit short of the mark. And as the leader who clings on to data like a drunk to a lamppost, I'd like to clarify how many of are actually printed. How many passes did we actually print? If we only printed 19,000, we sold out. What percentage of the passes we printed does 19,000 represent? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that the Deputy Leader's been doing with the Christmas Town Centre campaign. And you can recognise clearly the progress with the data that she's provided. The next phase, surely, to this Christmas Town Centre campaign should be a Christmas market, Lady Mayor, surely, in the sense that when anyone goes on Facebook and they see all their friends constantly leaving the town at Christmas time to go to other towns around the northwest because they have said Christmas market, clearly one's drawn to the thing that, all the time and the question of saying, well, surely we should have our own and keep that spend here. But being Blackpool, why not do it with a Blackpool twist? And my issue when I've been to Christmas markets anywhere around the UK is that they're very expensive and they don't really seem to connect with the existing local shops. So the Blackpool twist could be to work with existing retailers to be part of that experience so that the spend that we capture goes back into those that provide the economy for the other 11 months of the year.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Councillor Gary Coleman?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. A few weeks ago, it was publicised that there's going to be a free residence pass that allows you entry into Merlin, the Tower and the various attractions there. And it kind of reminds me of the Windike Farm Fun Fair that comes every year, which states every ride free, just pay £9 to get in. Could I just ask the Cabinet member, please, is this further to the free entry for residents that was promised pre-election in May? The election campaign of the Labour Party, one of the main platforms was to allow residents free entry to a wide variety of attractions in Blackpool. Could I ask, is this residence pass that's very welcome, saving 50% on entry, is that further to the free entries that a lot of residents are still waiting for? Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Clapham?
Mine's on the car parking patronage in the council car parks. When I first came on this council, there was only 3 areas of profit. One was car parking, the crematorium and the golf course. Well, the golf course no doubt will come up later, so that's obviously not making any money anymore. But we didn't have a bad season last year. The numbers of people coming into the town were high, the weather was good, and I can't fathom what has gone wrong with pointing people to the car parks. We've got some extremely expensive information signs on main routes in Blackpool which keep telling me to wear my seat belt, not to use my mobile phone, even when I'm on my push bike. They could be used for better things. They're stuck on the same messages, hours and hours on end. Is there anyone at the end of this system actually changing these things? It just doesn't happen. We were going to be flexible in terms of pricing to get people onto our car parks. We've mentioned it in the council chamber before about on the private car parking side. They're very flexible. They do move quickly. They do attract the customers there to park up, probably because they're better on price. It's about time the council got its act together. Even on this new central station site, there's going to be a 1,500 car park complex put in there first. But if no one knows about it, it's not going to earn you a bean. So, can we? I know you might be able to see it. If it's like the one in Liverpool, you'll see it burn. Anyway, there we are. If we can sort out
You and me both, love. Councillor Williams, you indicated. Page 20, I believe, just to double check. No, right, okay, we've given up. Okay, any more on page 20? No, page 21. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just wanted some assurances, really, that the Pride Committee have got their house in order this year financially. And Right said, Fred and Co are going to generate enough money for the not going cap in hand to the council again at the end of the festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, did we want page 21?
Slightly overlap, if I may. I remember what I was going to say. We're going just slightly back, Lady Mayor, to the free ticket scenario, or farce, as lots of people call it. Freedom of information by a colleague asked what the negotiations so far on the free tickets were. It came back saying there'd been conversations, but no formal planning yet. Just a bit late in the day, that we've got 150,000 people in Blackpool, and it said free tickets for everyone in Blackpool. That's 150,000 free tickets. Never mind, that's not what I want to talk about, really. I want to talk about the golf club. As you're aware, the golf club is going to go to HIP. Did you know that today some information has been found, which has been passed to the Minister, which would appear that HIP have made a false declaration? I say appear, allegedly made a false declaration on their procurement questionnaire. That has gone forward now to the Minister. And if that is the case, I would seriously suggest, for the Council's sake, its reputation, that we suspend anything further until that's clarified. I've already had a word with the Chief Exec, and I think it's been being looked at by our procurement people. But it would definitely seem to me, as a layman, that they have made a false declaration. But secondly, what I want to talk about is the east side of the golf course. There are 350 trees, approximately. I haven't counted them all, I missed a couple out. 350 trees on there. Does the portfolio know how many trees will be lost if this turns into a holiday lodge village at a time when we're all talking about planting more trees? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other questions on page 21? Page 22. Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. This is connected to the transformation of Anchor Park, and I wanted to draw members' attention to some of the work that's gone on with this scheme and thank a number of people. I'm going to do the thank yous first, probably easier, set the tone. So I'm going to start with Councillor Lynn Williams, who, as Chair of Planning, gave us some really, really powerful planning conditions and actually followed up and was a great source of help at a time when it was quite a battle. But some of those things listed there, the CCTV, the lighting and so on, would never have been there without your committee and the members of that committee. So that's quite a legacy, so thank you. And the other person I want to thank is John Blackledge for all the work and all the support that he's given us in this scheme. This, when it works, when it opens rather, over the next few years, will not just be a park. It's going to be a new way of doing parks, a new way of delivering services, dealing with mental health issues and paying for council staff to work in that park. It will be, if everything goes to plan, a park that can justify its existence without drawing too much from the council revenue to do it. It's going to be something really special that will both lift the town and the people that live in it and will be a destination. So it's something that I think that is very, very special. It belongs to us all. Whichever ward we are in Blackpool, it belongs to you. So when it opens, I'll be very much looking forward to seeing you all there. I may even buy you a brew. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Councillor Mrs Callow.
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. It's regarding the flood risk management strategy, which was presented to the Scrutiny Committee last week, which is something that we've all welcomed. And we are having public meetings next week, one on the 17th, that's the Monday, that is for Valencia Road, and then there's one on the 19th, and that one is for Anchors Home and Norbreck. I would just like to thank all the officers for organising this, and for the organisations that have said they'll be coming along. And also the people in Anchors Home and Norbret this week are having a notification through their letterbox advising them of this meeting. So I do hope that people come along. It is very, very important, but a lot of work has gone into arranging this, and the councillors are looking forward to a good result at the end of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Callow. Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's just on Councillor Galley's point. I had an event cancelled suddenly last week, so I had an unexpected day off. And to the amazement of my daughters, who thought I was mad for doing so, I walked from my house just off Park Road all the way to Fleetwood along the coastal path and stopped and had a good nosy at, because of course from the coastal path one can see down to Anchors Home Park. And I'm absolutely astounded. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. It's not even finished yet. That's going to be a marvellous, marvellous facility. It's going to dramatically alter that part of the town and the lives of the residents in it. So I just want to echo all of the thanks that Councillor Galley's given, but also thanks to him and Councillor Williams for the work that they've put into it, because it really is. It's an astonishing piece of work, and I can't wait to see it all.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Any other questions on page 22? Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Part of your report that states that as a country we are experiencing the impact of climate change, and if memory serves well, on the 26th of June was put forward a motion in these chambers for a climate emergency. It was stated that the climate emergency required urgent attention, and spoke about obviously the entire area being a zero carbon within a certain period of time. It mentioned about a citizens' assembly before the end of the calendar year in order to involve the wider population in this process. It mentioned setting up a climate change partnership group involving councillors, residents, young citizens, climate science and solutions experts, etc., etc., a few more people. It also mentions that the local government association, the council, will invite in a group of experts to advise on what steps can be taken quickly to have the greatest possible impact on air quality and a shift away from private cars. My questions are, in particular, has the Citizens' Assembly met before the end of the calendar year? And taking into consideration we have had an election which took about a minimum of 6 weeks, we have had a period of 2 months since the general election to carry on with this work. What was the advice of the group of experts from the local government association? And as it's been called an emergency, what steps have been taken to inform and involve all of the Blackpool residents of the climate emergency, and what steps are being taken? Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Clapham.
The issue about the meetings that are going to occur on flood risk, and it does say there it involves Bispam. Well, I've spoken to the officers about this, and they agree there's no problem in Bispam in terms of flooding. I've never come across any issues apart from some minor water problems which were from runoff from the golf course to Countess Crescent. And they put a ditch in there after getting the diggers stuck, and they got it out again, and that solved the problem in all the years I've been there. Ingthorpe have got far greater problems in terms of flooding, and they really should be in there and Bispam removed. Thank you.
Councillor Clapham, if it helps, I will be at that meeting on Monday as the Ingthorpe Ward Councillor. So I do think what they mean is the general area of Bispam rather than Bispam Ward, which does get confusing in the council chamber. But the residents out there don't know what ward boundaries are, if that helps. Any other questions on page 22? Page 23? Page 24? Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I've just reminded you, I've been sat here admiring Councillor Benson's Oscar. I don't know what category it's in. Sorry. Lady Mayor, Councillor Campbell, over half a dozen local authorities have confirmed their commitment to the Climate Action Plan, which includes the Wirral, South Gloucester, Bristol and Leeds. And this entails doubling the amount of trees they have in their boroughs, and also working with landowners in the area to do the same. It's an important issue, I'm sure she's aware of that. And will the portfolio help with this initiative by pledging to support the same scheme? Doubling up the trees already planted in Blackpool, working with landowners to do the same, and perhaps even replacing some of the 350 trees that might be lost at the golf club. Thank you. Twice.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other questions on page 24? Now, are these general questions or questions on page 24? Because I saw the hesitation. So, Councillor Mrs Williams. Sorry. Do you know when you get to a point and you've had a long day? I didn't mean to marry you off to Councillor Williams. I'm really sorry. Councillor Mrs Gallo. No, I'm sure that's the case. I do apologise. We'll try again. Councillor Mrs Gallo.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, if I can touch the subject of seagulls. Now, there was something in the Gazette the other night, a photograph of a seagull. And before I go any further, I don't dislike seagulls. I love to see them flying when they're over the sea. I think they're very graceful. And I'm not being parochial, but I'm having dreadful problems in my ward and in other areas of Blackpool with the seagulls. And in particular, we've got an individual on Norbreck that insists on feeding seagulls in their back garden. I have been assured by numerous neighbours that there can be up to 40 seagulls at a time being fed. 2 or 3 times a day, this person has seagulls on their bodies, on their heads, and they're throwing food up in the air for them. Our officers over the years, and it's over many years, have visited this person and asked them very politely to cease feeding. They said they will not. We haven't got a bylaw. They're not breaking the law. The neighbours have been round and spoken to this person and been very polite, and still no response. And the problem is that a lot of the people in that area are elderly, and their lives are being affected by this. And I think that this is absolutely selfish. And I do think as a council that we should be looking at a bylaw, because before long somebody is really going to be hurt quite badly. You know, we've had instances of children in pushchairs being attacked because they're eating something and a seagull's come down. But in particular, it's people who insist on feeding them in their back gardens and not caring anything at all about the environment or the people that live in the area. And I would like, Lady Mayor, our officers to have some sort of support, because they're doing their utmost, keep visiting this particular person, and it's getting absolutely nowhere. So I do think that we should consider a bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Keller. Councillor Gary Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. May I ask the Cabinet Member to, as a priority please, to get officers out to some of the zebra crossings in town. Some of them are in dire need of being painted. They are virtually impossible to see, not just in wet circumstances, but at the best of times. The 3 zebra crossings along the promenade between Talbot Road and Chapel Street are incredibly difficult to see. And on a few occasions, you actually see people trying to cross and drivers not being aware that it's actually a zebra crossing. Similarly, there's a zebra crossing next to Sainsbury's and even on St Anne's Road, close to South Shore Academy. Both the zebra crossings there are virtually impossible to see. So if I may ask, please, as a priority, for that to be looked into. And whilst I'm standing, and Councillor Williams mentioned
well,
the Oscars,
I'm afraid I'm just about to cut you off there, Councillor Coleman. I do apologise, but it is time. So we are on 25 minutes. So unless somebody... If somebody wants to suggest a move of extra time, then by all means do so. If not, that is our time up, and we are back to Councillor Campbell.
Move extra time.
Okay, if you're going to move extra time, Councillor Williams, I need to know how much extra time you would like to move. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So can we vote on the 2 minutes of extra time? Fabulous. I think we can just about carry that. All right. So I'll let Councillor Coleman carry on if he wishes to.
No, it's fine, Madam Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Nearly. That was nearly a fiver. I think that might have been £2.50. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. If I took my dog onto the promenade and it pooed in the middle of the road, I'm sure I'd get my collar felt and I'd have £100 or fine or whatever. And yet we've got horses doing it all day long. The nappies are not working. The horse muck's going on the floor. It's getting washed into the gullies. It's getting all over tyres and it stinks. I've been to places where they've got similar sort of carriages and horses, and I don't see it there. I don't see it in Mallorca, I don't see it in Central Park, and I don't see it in the Greek Islands. So why can't we get this problem sorted once and for all? Thank you. Was that too?
Councillor Mrs Scott, I advise you make it brief.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'll speak very quickly. A general question regarding procurement, please. What steps does the council take to ensure that companies who win contracts with the council meet the obligations set and the promises that they make within those contracts in relation to social value responsibilities? How is it monitored? Where is it reported? And if it isn't reported, can it be, please? Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Scott. I'm presuming we haven't got any other questions on general questions? Marvellous. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Okay, so we had Councillor Mrs Callow, Councillor Walsh and Councillor Williams all asking questions about the conference centre. So to reassure members that the conference centre will be wind and watertight within the next month. Conference bookings and inquiries are handled on a confidential basis, but we are still satisfied in the way that Beco are marketing the site. Members will know that the bulk of the funding for the state-of-the-art venture was secured from the LEP, not from local taxpayers. And we are not in dispute with any of the designers. It is taking a little bit longer than anyone would like, but it's definitely happening. I'm going to leave it at that. Councillor Clapham, minor adaptations. I'm not sure what that contract is all about, I'll be honest with you. You're right, it is disappointing, and we've had this conversation numerous times. I didn't know you were going to answer that. I thought you were going to answer something a lot more intricate, and I got a really good answer. So you caught me unawares there. We can only do what we can do when it comes to getting people to bid for contracts. But yes, you're right. We do our very, very best to get local businesses to bid. But I do have, in further news about our procurement, I was sent an email today with a little screenshot from LGA Cities, and they had tweeted that Blackpool is #1 in the top 10 of procurement innovation hotspots in 2019, which is obviously good news. This is despite our size, we're highly innovative with our procurement strategy and approach. I think that's fantastic, but you're right, we do still need to work a little bit more on that local offer. Councillor Walsh, resort pass. I'm actually quite happy with 19,000. There's always room for growth, obviously. Not everyone who comes to Blackpool wants to come and do every single attraction, and I think that's more for people who are staying for a week or so, because it's a lot cheaper to buy the resort pass and do all the things. I hope to be able to report next year that it's even more than that, fingers crossed. Councillor Williams, resort passes aren't actually, they are printed, but they're in the form of a card. And I'm not sure, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly how many we have made. But yeah, they're in the form of a card, and when you buy one, whether that be online or whether you pick it up from the Tourist Information Centre and then it becomes valid on a certain date. So that's how they work. Councillor Galley, we'd all love a Christmas market. I'd love a Christmas market. But unfortunately, people don't seem to think that Blackpool is the place for Christmas markets. We're trying to persuade them otherwise. There have been a couple, not that I can remember, but just historically people have told me that there have been some on places like St John's Square, but in winter you're never quite sure what the weather is going to be like. It's a bit of a wind tunnel and it can be a problem. Now I've said, can we not maybe look at doing one in the Winter Garden? So I will definitely take that away again and try and speak to people about it. So thank you for that. Councillor Gary Coleman, Residents Pass, this is unconnected to the actual pledge that we made at the election. So they're completely unconnected. And I would just like to say that there will be an announcement on that pledge from this administration within the next 6 weeks. So you can look forward to that. Councillor Clapham, car parking. I got a bit confused. You seem to think we had quite a good season last year. We did at certain times of the year. We didn't at others. It was very wet in some places. We had a great Easter. It was a bit of a roller coaster ride was last season. And parking, you know, I can't. There's lots of places to park, isn't there? We've just taken over a new car park, though, in Hounds Hill, and we're trying to make the offer the same across the board. So, fingers crossed, the car parking will go up again next year. When it comes to the actual signage that you're talking about, they can only have messages on them that are transport related. We can't use them for anything else. That is part of the funding agreement for those actual signs. So we couldn't put, you know, even events or anything like that on it. It has to be about not using your telephone and also diversions and things like that, but that is literally all we can use them for. Councillor Scott, you asked about Pride. Just to let you know that the offer this year is slightly different. So the actual concerts themselves are being run by Visit Blackpool rather than the Pride Committee. That was the difference. Last year it was all run by the Pride Committee and they got into difficulties. We decided this year we would make it part of our events calendar, and Visit Blackpool are running them, and I think they're going to be a sellout. They are a smaller capacity than the Switch On itself. It's only for 10,000 rather than 20,000, and I'm quite sure we'll get at least halfway to filling that up, because there has been a lot of interest. Councillor Williams, Golf Club, 300 trees. Yes, we will, as part of the development, I believe that conversations have gone on that it's a lodge, they're lodges, aren't they? And they want to plant more trees than are actually there at the moment. They will be smaller, obviously, and grow over time. So more trees will be planted. We've been talking a lot about trees this week. Councillor Galley, Anchors Home Park. I am delighted that you're delighted. I've not seen it myself yet, but I look forward to taking you up on the offer of a brew, and I'll come and see it. A cheap brew, even better. Councillor Mrs. Callow, flood risk management strategy. Yes, a lot of work going into that, and I would also like to pass my thanks on to officers. I know they've had a lot to do. And also, if I could, while I'm here, I forgot to say this earlier, I'd also like to pass my thanks on to our officers who had to deal with the storm, not only when it was happening, but the clean-up of the streets afterwards. And I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's taken part, the volunteers who helped at Stanley Sports Centre, all over. There was lots and lots of people on the streets doing lots of things that we didn't see. Councillor Scott, the climate change, yes, we will still have a citizens' assembly, but like you said, the election did get a bit in the way, and we're also at the moment looking at how we would do it and how we engage with people, and it's taken longer than I would like it to have done, but I think the key is to get it right. So hopefully I'll be able to report in my next report exactly what's happening with that for you. Councillor Clapham, I think you dealt with that BISPOM as a whole rather than a ward. Councillor Williams, yes, trees, more trees. We all agree, more trees. And no, not those ones, no. And the trees weren't actually £10,000. The trees were about £400. Yeah, it was the infrastructure. I would just like to say, I am doing my own part in my own ward. I'm doing my own part in my own ward this year by planting a sustainable Christmas tree. Brilliant. Yes. It's only one tree, but, you know, hopefully it'll be there for years to come. Councillor Mrs. Callow, seagulls. I'm not quite sure what we do about that. If you've had officers involved, not sure about the creation of a bylaw either, but I'll look into it for you. And the actual issue as well, because I think that's quite, you know, disturbing. Councillor Gary Coleman, yes, you're right. Zebra crossings, I've seen it myself. The only thing I will say is, whilst the markings themselves may be faded, you do have the zebra lights, so people should see, drivers should see a zebra crossing. Yeah, no, I completely understand. Councillor Williams, horse snappies. Yeah, I believe there was a whole scrutiny about horse nappies at some point. Yeah, whether or not possibly we need to have a further one, I'm not sure. Or I might just have a chat with the officers about it. And Councillor Mrs. Scott, procurement, social value. I can't answer that right off, I'm afraid. If you don't mind, I will write to you about that. Thank you very much, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Okay, so we are, guys, I struggle with background noise, so if you're all talking, I really do struggle, so please do just bear that in mind. Okay, we're moving on to the next report, which is Councillor Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Pleased to present the report and answer any questions, hopefully. Can I just record my thanks to Councillor Kane for his kindness and help in the handover. Thank you.
Okay, so questions on page 25. Page 26. Councillor Clapham.
It's on the topic of performance in children's social care. It does say in the report that the demand on the front door of social care remains high. As progress is made with children in care, there should be a revolving door to discharge our successes back into society. Is there a problem in the social care system which is preventing these children leaving our care? I believe that there was quite a good number of responses from residents to foster children. We've had a number of drives in that area, but conversion to people being interested to becoming foster parents has remained low. Do we know the reason why? Because that would certainly help bring down the number of looked after children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I want to go back to possibly a comment the leader made about me when I wasn't there, actually. He said that I wanted to bring all the looked after children who are outside and bring them back to some sort of do the boys hall, a workhouse sort of impact. I certainly don't. Well, that's what our colleagues told me. I said, my colleagues. Well, whatever. I think he thinks that's what I want to do. I don't. I want state of the art. I want better than what we've got now. In fact, we don't even know what we've got now. I do know what we've got now, and I do know how much it's costing us a year. I presume the leader knows this cost as well. Oh, good. I'm glad they did. Oh, I will ask the question. £11,767,000. It's a lot of money, isn't it? How much could we save of that if we had our own resources? Would the portfolio wholly agree with me that it would be better if we borrowed money invested in our own needs rather than be payday loaners to other businesses which don't seem to flourish that well on the money? That's the question. Would she agree with me?
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other questions on page 26? Page 27? Page 28? Councillor Clapham?
I'd like to just say congratulations to High Furlong, and in particular Neil Oldham, who is a great head. I thought his name would be mentioned in here because we'd also mentioned Keith Berry, who's also picked up this accolade nationally. It only goes to support how well we look after people in the SEND section within education. We are certainly excellent in every area, and I think we should let them know from the council that we do appreciate all the work that they're doing. And the topic of the day is people who have got mental or physical problems, and I think we certainly punch well above our weight as an authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. On a personal note, Mr. Oldham was a teacher of mine when I was at high school, so and I saw him at the award ceremony, and he was incredibly pleased that the school had done so well. So yes, I'd like to put on record as well my thanks to him. Any other questions on page 28? Page 29. General questions, Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Firstly, may I congratulate Councillor Williams for her new role. I'm sure you'll be very good at it. Secondly, I had a question really. It was just a sort of halfway point check on Better Start. I roughly assume we're getting close to the halfway point of their work. And I wanted to know, is it having the impact that we wanted it to? And also, as we come to the final 5 years of its work, what are we putting in place to carry that work on post those 5 years when its time and its funding runs out?
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Any other general questions for Councillor Williams? Nope. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Councillor Clapham, the issue with regards to children not leaving care, I think, is there's a number of issues involved with that. So we know the rate of children coming into care has slowed down. I think there are some issues in terms of complexity of needs, but when there is a separate specialist area that's now been set up, because one of the issues is special guardianship orders and the preparation of those and delay in getting those done. So there's a particular piece of work that's being done that will aid and assist in those children then being... there are other issues with regards to the local authority sharing care orders with parents. Those have continued and obviously are still classed as looked after children, but are in effect sharing care orders with the authority. So there are a number of issues with that. In terms of the foster care, I think we are on 68% of our children with foster care. The national average is 73. So we have some work to do. The Ofsted assistant supports the council's view that our resources and initiative the drive is in terms of foster care, because we know that those give better outcomes for our children. And Ofsted supports that, and that is what we are continue to work to. I think that was it. Councillor Williams, it is a staggering figure, but if I could just give some other figures which I think could put it in a little bit of context. In the last year, there's been a national overspend in children's services across as the Councillor Blackburn has said, of 95% of local authorities have an overspend in relation to children's services. 800 million. The forecast for the next year varies. I've seen estimates of 1.4 and 1.54 billion going forward. The issue of providing your own resources, 20%, only 20% of local authorities provide their own residential care for children. And we're in that 20% because of the two classes being within that, because of the two centres that we still have. I think there are a number of issues at why historically that has waned in terms of local authorities providing that. But the focus, as I've said, is in relation to foster care. I know that there are a few local authorities that are considering the provision, but it's on an entirely different model from what we may view as being a children's home, a 6-bed children's property. We're looking at 2-bedroom properties, so because we 2-bed projects and homes, because we know that, as I say, that the outcomes for children are better if they're in a home environment. This is why we're fostering rather than a placement in a residential children's home. We want them to have those better chances and care. I mean, I think the main important thing in this is that whatever we have to look at in terms of, we have to do the best for our children in terms of their needs. I think one of the things that I have learnt over this last week is that one of the issues that involved is that the complexity of needs of the children in care has, so that the rates of children entering care nationally, we're part of that, but it's about complexity of needs and children with disabilities that they're in care. So there's a whole lot of things that the authority are looking at in terms of the work with Ofsted that relate to this. But if it is as part of that, although the fostering is the priority and the resources supported by Ofsted, but if it is the view that the local authority, it wouldn't not be considered in terms of, but that would be a long-term plan in terms of looking at residential care that we provided for our own. Because coming back to the point I made at the start, isn't into money, and I'm not going to go all the, we seem to be trying that somehow that's shying away that we shouldn't be kind of political, and I'm not going to get into debates as to whether the money that is being promised for children's social care and for adult social care, whether that's coming or it's not coming. Even if it is going to take years to remedy the effects of austerity, because it isn't just the effects of the cuts on this council, which has been one of the worst hit by those. It's all of those services that in relation to support and prevention. For example, during austerity, 24% of costs annually in relation to those services that support domestic violence. So if you're going to go back then and want those services to be raised, as I say, even if this money is landed in everybody's laps to spend on children's social care, and because still one of the issues now is in relation to the shortage of experienced staff. So there's going to have to be a whole process, and that is going to take a number of years. So, and that is one of the issues around, I think, why councils haven't, because of the concerns of having the sufficient qualified staff to run residential care homes. What's the next one? Councillor Clapham. Yes, echo those congratulations. We are very fortunate to have that, and I'm sure Councillor Benson that too. Councillor Galley, Better Start. Obviously, Better Start is around generational change, and we aren't going to fully understand and appreciate what has been achieved through that. Haven't quite got to the nitty-gritty meetings about Better Start. As I say, it's only been over a week. But a lot of work continues through that is still ongoing, and I think there's been rollouts of even further schemes from Better Start. Certainly in our ward, we've had that involvement and contact with Better Start. So yes, we will continue to monitor that and ensure that it does. Thank you. Is that it?
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Okay, moving on to the Combined Fire Authority report. I believe Councillor Jackson, are you presenting this?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. On behalf of Councillor Williams and Councillor Blackburn, I'd like to say I think all three of us are proud of the record of the Combined Fire Authority which we serve on. And you'll see from the report that the Majesty's Inspectorate have made that Lancashire is one of the few areas
the Combined Authority of Lancashire, Blackburn and Blackpool, is one of the 2 areas that have exceptional outstanding ratings. There's a further inspection taking place in the spring of this year, and we expect again that we will do exceedingly well in that report. It's always a pity that the reports are always a little bit behind when they come to this meeting. I would like to say, while I'm on my feet, I would like to pay my respect and thanks to the Fire Authority for the work that they did in Blackpool over the weekend. We had flooding in Victoria Ward, which I represent, and there was 18 properties there that were affected in flooding. There was flooding at Revo School as well in the ward, and in the adjoining ward there was flooding at Rigby Road, and the Fire Authority was involved in all of those, and they did an exceedingly good job in helping the residents there, and I would like to pay my thanks to them for the work they did. And it was amazing how the residents appreciated the work that they did. I was down there for a couple of hours on Sunday afternoon after I'd got the message of what was happening, and I visited the people who'd gone to the Stanley Park, and I'm digressing from the Fire Authority slightly there, but they were all very, very pleased and appreciative of the work that took place that weekend, echoing what Councillor Campbell said earlier. But I especially wanted to thank the Fire Authority for the work they did. They did an excellent job, and everybody was really pleased for the work they did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. We'll do this in the same way that we dealt with the executive report, so page by page. So initially, page 31. Any questions? Page 32. Page 33. Any general questions? Marvellous. I think they accepted your report, Councillor Jackson. Okay, moving on. We have the Chair of the Audit Committee, Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm so excited to present this report. Audit traditionally has such a grim, boring old reputation as something you just have to do. But really, audit represents something that is quite a special place in what it liberates us to do as a council, which is something I'm going to try and conclude on. My biggest challenge in this report is I think I've only got 3 minutes to say this, have I? 3 minutes. This is going to be difficult. Firstly, I'll do the thank yous. We've seen through the election a new committee being created. We have an excellent vice chair in Councillor Jane Hugo that's joined the team, and new committee members, and to thank the old committee members that are still here for all the work that they did. And I believe we're on a new journey that will help reach some of the conclusions I'm going to refer to. But to provide assurance to members, there was one area that was covered in the press about our accounts being late to be signed off. Just to provide some assurance and take the opportunity to do that, that was purely a process that, because we've got new auditors, they wanted to have a thorough look at what we've been up to over the last few years. And I'm pleased to say there were no material concerns in those processes that they reviewed. Now, achievements of the committee, I'm really pleased about some of the work that we've done in terms of we've embedded ourselves in the way that we pick up priority 2s and 3s that the internal audit team have found. That allows to take pressure off the audit team, but at the same time it allows assurance provided back to the council that nothing is being missed. But best of all, it allows the managers of those departments to come in and talk to elected members and provide in part of their own succession planning. Other areas that I'm pleased with has been a focus around community engagement, but that's both in terms of the internal audit that was done on community engagement to create a policy, a referral from the audit committee to the scrutiny process around channel shift, and thirdly is a connection now, I believe, we're starting to establish with the executive, with an invitation to the leader of the council to come to the committee, and again, not to challenge the leader or any of the executive, but to provide added support that you may require in the work that you do for the council. So vision for the future, we always set out that everyone will be an auditor, and that was really what we wanted to create, be that an elected member or an officer. And I believe through the journey that we've started that we are going to get to that point. We've also, as I say, want to embed ourselves in the new scrutiny arrangement. So scrutiny is, audit is there to identify the problem, scrutiny is there to fix it. And finally, we have training. You may see invites through Catherine about the different courses that we run. If anyone is on an audit committee for one of our council-owned companies, or anyone who's running a scrutiny, be that a chair or on a scrutiny on, say, children's services, it may be worth coming to, say, some of the risk register stuff that we do, because it's so connected in terms of the work that the officers and where we are in terms of our different risks that we manage. But our ultimate aim for all of that, and I wanted to present a really happy conclusion, and this is why audit is such a beautiful thing. And I once said to Councillor Benson, oh no, I'd say this really quickly. Audit allows us to dare to be different when we manage it well. And that is the ultimate aim of the committee. Happy to take questions.
I do apologise, Councillor Galley. I do hate cutting you off, as you well know. But unfortunately, the rules are the rules. However, I can't say that anybody will probably disagree with the things that you've said and the intention of the statement that you've made. Moving on from that, any questions for Councillor Galley on page 35? Oh, sorry, Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Can I thank Councillor Galley for his report and for the irrepressible enthusiasm which he brings to the job. I think I may have said this before, but with one honourable exception, everybody who's ever chaired the audit committee, myself and Councillor Callow, have gone on to be the leader of the council. Mm-hmm. The exception of Councillor Taylor was the thought of becoming the leader of the council again in 2011 that propelled me into this job, and him hurtling off to chair the audit committee for 12 months. So he's in good company. I do admire the enthusiasm that Councillor Galley brings to the job, and also the many changes that have been made to the audit committee. It's one of those bodies which can be very dry, but given a bit of enthusiasm and a fresh look at things, can provide a very useful function. I am looking forward. I've just had a look at my diary now, because somebody told me I was coming to see you. I understand it's on the 30th of April, so I'm sure, I'll enjoy that. I'm not sure the committee will necessarily do so. Can I also, I note the annual governance statement is mentioned in here, which I and the Chief Executive sign off. Could I just highlight to the Chamber and to Councillor Williams in particular, according to Councillor Galley's report, the annual governance statement provided adequate assurance that public money was safeguarded, properly accounted for, used economically, efficiently and effectively. No doubt. But can I, rather more seriously, can I ask Councillor Galley what his view is on the additional audit fees, the bill that we've been presented with by Deloitte? We've had a number of external auditors in my time on the council, and of course it's absolutely right and proper that they are changed from time to time to ensure that they are wholly independent and don't build up too much of a relationship with council officers. But the process this year has been, to say the least, painful. The amount of detail that they've asked for has been incredible. The length of time that they've spent coming up with absolutely no material changes to the accounts whatsoever, and then hit us with a big bill. Now, they got this job through a public procurement exercise at a fixed price, undercutting lots of other external auditors, to then drop an extra bill on us, as I understand they have with many other councils, strikes me as wholly unreasonable, contrary to the procurement process and the competitive nature of that. So how does he view that, and what does he think I ought to do in terms of paying that bill?
Councillor Galley.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. Hold your horses. Councillor Bliss. Do you know? Okay, no problem. Anybody else on page 35? Page 36, page 37, page 38. Any other general questions, comments? Now you can answer, Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, to the leader, I thank you for your kind words. And I won't labour the whole process, what we're trying to create, but it is there very much to support the council and all the officers and the elected members in what we do. One of the roles of the Audit Committee through CIFRA, and it's one that we don't often champion, is that we have to offer value for money. And to answer Councillor Blackburn's question, there's a meeting on Friday between Deloitte and our officers to discuss this very issue. It's been called as a special meeting through the Audit Committee for us to examine the reasons why they can justify £25,000. My view, and we've made it very clear in the committee, is that every penny that goes into spending on that £25,000 is £25,000 we cannot spend on the streets of this town. We know the books. Our external auditor knows the state of our accounts. So they will have to, in that conversation, deliver very good reasons to justify that £25,000, and they, in my opinion, should be able to justify what that material change looks like that they were able to find in the work that they did, and if they can't do that, they're going to have a very hard time justifying paying it, and therefore I'll be happy to forward the report and the conclusion of that discussion on Friday. Obviously, it'll go back to the Audit Committee. We will not have the final say on the decision, but we'll certainly make it very clear that we will not be happy or will be happy as regards the conclusion that comes from those discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6, Council Tax Reduction Scheme 2020-2021. Councillor Brooks, I believe you're moving this?
Yes, Lady Mayor. The Welfare Reform Act in 2012 abolished council tax benefit and required councils to replace that legally with a council tax reduction scheme. So we've done that obviously since 2013. We're required to adopt the council tax reduction scheme by the 11th of March. And essentially, I'm just going to formally move, I'm not going to waffle on, we're doing exactly the same as we did last year to protect the most vulnerable residents in our town.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And do we have a seconder for the motion?
Seconded, Lady Mayor.
No, thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Okay, any other councillors to speak on this particular item? Okay, well, as nobody's asked any questions, you don't need a right to reply, Councillor Brooks. And can I ask the council to make a show of hands? All those in favour? Any against? Marvellous, that's carried. I think that might have been a unanimous vote. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could carry on the rest of the evening like that? And next up is the rent review, item 7. Councillor Brooks, I believe this one's yours as well.
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. The purpose of the proposed rent review really is, and moving it, is twofold. The first part is to try and recover the position of the past 4 years' rent reductions, where we were forced into a reduction of 1% every year on the rents. So I think it was 2017, the government policy said that at the end of the proposed reduction period, we were entitled to increase the rents again by 1% per annum and CPI, which is effectively what we've done in the proposal. That's the first part of what I want to say. The second part of it is it gives us the opportunity to defend the housing revenue account so that we can actually make a difference in council housing and provision of decent homes in the town. Because as a result of the housing revenue account being ring-fenced and not being able to be used for anything else, if we maintain appropriate balances in there, it gives us the opportunity to borrow, following the removal of the borrowing cap by the government,
gives us the opportunity to borrow and invest in housing in the town. And I was really surprised that I wasn't radical enough for Councillor Galley earlier on in terms of ambition. I think if we follow the logic and the proposed rent review, we'll implement the council housing investment plan over the next 5 years, which will provide 1,000 new homes for people in this town that need them. I see that very much as a beginning, and if we look after the housing revenue account properly, we can move on from that and hopefully meet Mr Galley's radical ambitions. I move, Ma'am.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And do we have a seconder?
Seconded, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Okay, any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Council will be very aware of the 10-year deal that was set up in 2013 with the coalition government in regards to CPI plus the 1%. And of course that was up to a maximum. That deal has been renegotiated, he's fully aware of. And the guidelines state that it can be up to CPI plus 1%. Up to. You've gone straight for the highest amount, which is 2.7. And while you've given on one hand in a tax reduction scheme, you're taking away in a rent scheme. You're putting up rents which will more than affect the vulnerable people in Blackpool, and you've done it at the highest possible level. I don't think that's right. I don't think my colleagues feel that's right. And I think you should have looked at bringing that in incrementally to make it easier on those people. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other speakers on this particular motion? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just follow on from what Councillor Williams said. Some of the most vulnerable people in this town, Councillor, are already on housing benefit, so they will not be affected by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Any others wishing to contribute to the debate? Councillor Brooks, you have the right to reply.
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. It's interesting that there seems to be a contrary position being adopted by Councillor Williams. I think that last year that they voted against the 1% reduction in rents demanded by their own government that was actually forced on Blackpool. And this year, presumably given that the statement has just come out with, they'll be voting against the increase in 1% in rents to replace that cut. So it's a bit of a difficulty in understanding that position, if I'm honest. In terms of CPI, all we're doing is simply seeking to put the housing revenue account back to where it was. And hopefully provide a basis to invest in housing that's much needed in this town. If we put up 1% every year for the next 5 years, that will get us back to where we were in real spending terms if we follow the CPI route as proposed. The intention is to protect the housing revenue account and also to build new houses for the people of this town. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Request a recorded vote, Lady Mayor.
I need 5, please. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to the vote. I'll hand over.
Lady Mayor, recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Brooks. Please could members indicate their answer with yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker? Thanks. Yes or no? No. Councillor Benson? Yes. Councillor Blackburn? Yes. Councillor Brooks? Yes. Councillor Woodess? Yes. Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow? No. Councillor Peter Callow? No. Councillor Campbell? Yes. Councillor Clapham? No. Councillor Debbie Coleman? No. Councillor Gary Coleman? No. Councillor Cox? No. Councillor Critchley? Yes. Councillor Farrell? Yes. Councillor Galley? No. Councillor Hobson? Yes. Councillor Hugo? Yes. Councillor Hunter? Yes. Councillor Hutton? Yes. Councillor Jackson? Yes. Councillor Kirkland? Yes. Councillor Matthews? Yes. Councillor O'Hara? Yes. Councillor Owen? Yes. Councillor Roberts? No. Councillor Robertson? No. Councillor Danny Scott? No. Councillor Michelle Scott? No. Councillor Rick Scott? No. Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Councillor Stansfield?
No.
Councillor Taylor?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
No.
Councillor Lynn Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Tony Williams?
No.
Councillor Wing?
No.
Lady Mayor?
Yes.
Lady Mayor, members have voted as follows: 20 for the motion, 17 against.
Thank you very much, and that is carried. The next item on the agenda is the pay policy statement, I believe. Councillor Blackburn, is it yourself to move?
Happy to move, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet. Anybody to second? Councillor Campbell?
Seconded, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any councillors wish to speak on this particular motion? No indication, no? I'm presuming, therefore, you don't need your right to reply then, Councillor Blackburn. OK, we'll move straight on to the vote then. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Marvellous. OK, moving on to item 9, the polling station review. Councillor Blackburn, are you moving this?
I am, Lady Mayor. We need to get this through this council meeting, but as members will see from reading it, we haven't yet come up with a final solution for the issue of mobile polling stations. Whilst I'm on my feet, I would like to thank the officers who were involved in the recent general election, obviously for all of their hard work, but also for coming up with the innovative solution of using a Blackpool Transport bus as a polling station when one of the mobile units heat generators let us down. It's pleasing to know that all of these plans are thought about and prepared well in advance. So there isn't an immediate solution to the issue of the mobile units, but by approving this decision, which I hope we're going to, by approving this review, we delegate responsibility for that to the returning officer, but of course in conjunction with the elected members from the areas affected. So with that, I move, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Blackburn. And who's seconding this?
Seconded, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lynn Williams. OK, and do we have anybody wishing to speak on this particular motion? Any councillors? No? Marvellous. OK. Again, I'm presuming you don't wish your right to reply then, Councillor Blackburn. We'll move straight to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, fantastic. I think that was unanimous, but I'll just double check. Any against? No, didn't think so. Fantastic. OK, and I believe we are now moving on to motions of full council. So the motion I have in front of me, the first one is Councillor Williams, the Beat Bullying campaign.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I think we've already had a speaker tonight who's gone through the importance of this, and we had the pleasure of having Norrie Ashcroft come and talk to us all about his plans and what he was doing. It wasn't a training session as such. I believe one or two councillors may have thought it was a bit boring and he went on a bit too long. I won't give the names of the person who said that, but never mind. It was very informative, and his enthusiasm is second to none in regard to this. And as the motion says, I used to have an old boss that used to say, what gets counted gets done. And I think it's very true in this case. The Chief Exec should write to every school head teacher in the borough, regardless of whether they're an academy, maintained or diocesan school, and I'm going to include free in that because we have one free school. Encouraging the schools to pledge to support the Beat the Bullying campaign. which I've got my yellow badge on, led by the Head Start Resilience, and get involved in achieving the charter mark for that campaign. The charter mark being the first of its kind developed by young people in the country. The Council has been using the free anti-bullying programme, which has been initiated by MAD, making a direct difference about bullying. And this is sponsored by individual businesses and local residents, together with a generous donation from Fleetwood Town Football Club. And it's growing like a snowball. It's doing really, really well. So I'm asking you to support this so we can all make a genuine and an obvious difference to bullying in schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And to second, is it Councillor Stansfield? Oh, sorry, Councillor Clapham. I've got on my piece of paper, it's Councillor Stansfield. Oh, if we changed. I'm sorry, Councillor Clapham. I do apologise.
I am pleased to second the notice of motion. Any initiative which actively supports equality, diversity, discrimination or tackling bullying effectively should have the full support of this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have we got any councillors that wish to speak? Councillor Blackburn?
Yep. Thank you, Lady Mayor. The Labour Group's more than happy to support this. I think it's a good notice of motion. I came with my band on tonight, but rather spoilt by the fact that they were handing them out at the front door. But mine did make it all the way from their house to here. I just want to get the credit for that. But yeah, great notice of motion. Happy to support it. Would like to encourage all of the schools to get involved.
Fantastic. Any other councillors? Councillor Stansfield? Sorry, I do apologise.
Thank you. It's all right. I didn't know I wasn't. Yeah, I've been involved with Norrie on his Make a Direct Difference campaign for quite a while now. And some of the statistics that come out of bullying are actually quite frightening. Well, they're not quite frightening, they're actually horrendous. That 2,500 children every year attempt suicide through bullying or because of bullying. And actually 1% of them actually manage to complete their efforts. I mean, these figures are actually horrendous, that in this day and age we've got things like this going on. I'm glad to hear that the leader is in full support of this. But what we also need to do apart from this is make sure that the schools in our wards use the training that is available. It's all right putting the training in and getting the chief exec to write to them to say to use it, but we must communicate with the schools and say, look, the training's there, use it. If we can save one life, we've made a massive difference. I'd just like to have made that point. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Benson?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'd just like to note that Council, we do take bullying in our schools extremely seriously, and there are quite a few initiatives going on in some of our schools. I myself have attended an event run by, I don't know if anybody's aware of the Diana Awards. They're an anti-bullying charity, and that was in November. The Diana Awards are a national charity who, together with councils, reach out to schools in their area. It was attended by over 250 young people from most of our primary, senior and special schools. I was invited as a panel member to speak, and believe me, this forum was a lot easier than having questions thrown at you by 250 young people. Talk about thinking on your feet. Pupils took part in interactive workshops, part of them interactive workshop inspiring them to tackle bullying and what strategies they could put in place. The Diana Awards have run this event for several years with the support of the council. We've reached out to schools in the area and seen the impact of some of their work to help train anti-bullying ambassadors in the school and some of our communities. I gave assurances at that event that I would do everything possible as Cabinet Member for Schools Learning and Aspiration, that I would support any initiative they had. So therefore, Councillor Williams, extremely happy to support your motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams, I believe it's your right to reply if there's nobody else.
I've nothing
Councillor
to add
Benson,
to that,
can you
Lady
turn
Mayor.
your mic off? Sorry.
I've nothing to add other than to thank the members for their support in this. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? We want to stop this. We want to stop it as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you for that, Councillor Williams. Just in terms of slightly amending the wording, obviously the free school needs to be included. Now, I don't want to hold up process here, so if everybody's happy for us to include that free school in that wording, then that would be helpful. Is that agreed? Marvellous. So we will take the vote. All those in favour? Fantastic. That's unanimous, so that is carried. The next notice of motion, I believe this one is also yours, Councillor Williams?
It is, via the local fire authority. I was very honoured to be made champion for the community safety group within the local fire authority, and we went through quite a lot of stuff with my colleagues there. One of the surprises I got were the amount of deaths at residential fires during the year, and it's around about 800. And that last year was including the Grenfell. And what I was surprised to learn that how much if sprinkler systems had been installed in these houses, the deaths could have been prevented. And it's almost 100%. Sprinkler systems work in a very unique way, and they're not these big horrible brass things that you see in old factories and schools. They're very modern looking now, look like a little modern fire alarm. But they concentrate on the heat in that particular place. Most fires start in the kitchen or the front room when somebody's fallen asleep, the cigarette, etc., etc., etc. The sprinkler system focuses on that heat, targets that heat, so it doesn't spread to other rooms. And we've heard lots about people dying of smoke inhalation, usually in the bedrooms. That's the biggest cause of death. Sprinklers help to stop that because they decrease the large globules of smoke, thereby reducing the amount of smoke inhalation which can kill you. They can, quite literally, stop residential fire deaths. And I was quite amazed at that, and I was also quite amazed to find out that it isn't statutory. Only certain buildings have these in when they build multi-storey buildings, factories, toxic substances, etc., etc. And then I looked into it to find out what would make it statutory, what could we do and what were the benefits. The benefits are, of course, that it saves lives. The other benefits are is when contractors are building new homes, it's just a few £100 to put sprinkler systems in. It's a lot more expensive to retrofit them after the houses are being built. But also in terms of planning and building houses, the regulations change. If you've got a property which has got a built-in sprinkler system, they can be built closer to the next property because there's less chance of the fire spreading. So it just makes common sense. And if we can agree on this, if you will agree to support this motion, I intend to then send it to other authorities around the UK and asking for their support. So this would be a snowball effect, starting with this council, the very first council to bring this to a motion, to see if we can increase change in regard to saving lives. The figures are there for you to see, so I would welcome any comments and any questions, but I move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. And for want of avoiding the previous situation, who's seconded the motion? Councillor Clapham.
You never know. Okay. I hope the Council will support this notice of motion as the measures will save lives from being lost in domestic fires. I am pleased to second the motion and I hope the Council supports it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Okay, have we got anybody wishing to speak? Councillor Blackburn?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Again, the Labour group is perfectly happy to support what is a very sensible motion. The tragedy at Grenfell started a national conversation about how we deal with both fire risk and with building safety. With my local government association hat on as chair of the Safer Communities Board, we have been, certainly my officers at the LGA have been closely involved in the Hackett review, Dame Judith Hackett's review into building safety. And it would be folly to imagine that this is just an issue that involves high-rise buildings, as Councillor Williams highlights, this affects all properties, residential, commercial and otherwise. Aside from the Grenfell tragedy, we have seen in the past 12 months a number of substantial fires, some of which have caused loss of life, others of which very fortunately have not. But in new builds, there was one particular housing development in Barking and Dagenham that was well on fire within half an hour of the fire breaking out, and the entire new estate was destroyed. There's a very sad and tragic incident in Morecambe fairly recently. And we do as a nation need to look much more closely at what is and isn't acceptable in the construction process, what the role of local authorities is in ensuring and certificating building safety, whilst there is a private market also at work in that area. So absolutely agree with the notice of motion, and we're happy to support it, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Williams, you have the right to reply.
The wide Lady Mayor, other than thank you for your support for something which I think is most important to all of us.
Thank you very much, in which case we'll move straight on to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you very much. Moving on to motion C, the adoption of the IHRA. Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm going to read some of what I want to say off my telephone, so I do apologise to people for appearing to look at my phone whilst I'm speaking. Just to explain the background to this notice of motion, my partner and I were in Paris last year and again early this year, and one notes around the streets of Paris plaques which appear with alarming regularity, which are tributes to either resistance fighters and or victims of the German occupation. And all of them have tied to them a bunch of flowers with a little card from the mayor of whichever arrondissement that plaque happens to be in. And the first one of these that we stumbled across was not far from the Eiffel Tower on the side of the military academy. The poignancy of this would have been entirely lost on me were I not in the fortunate position where my partner speaks fluent French and was able to translate what it said. And when I returned to the UK, I posted this on Facebook in September. Walking through Paris last week, we saw this plaque placed at the side of the military academy, a few hundred yards from the Eiffel Tower. It records how, on the 12th of December 1941, German military police, assisted by the French police, arrested 743 French citizens who were also Jewish, many of them veterans of the First World War. They were then taken to an encampment in the forest where many died of hunger and exposure. Those who survived were taken to Auschwitz, where they were killed. One of hundreds of similar plaques. I returned to the UK to find a debate raging in the media around anti-Semitism following, I have to say, the Labour Party conference and a number of people who seek to associate themselves with the left in British politics. And some of the imagery and some of the protests outside the Labour Party conference were absolutely sickening. So I signalled my intention back in September to bring this motion to a meeting of this council, because I think it's absolutely right that we make our statement, make our position clear. On the 15th of October, we received an email from the Secretary of State at MHCLG, Robert Jenrick, asking us to do exactly that and to place on record at a council meeting our full and unwavering support for the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. So I replied to him immediately, stating that it was my intention to bring this motion to the November meeting of Blackpool Council. On the 15th of January, I, along with many other council leaders, received a further email from the Secretary of State inquiring why we had not yet adopted the definition. I replied in fairly brisk terms that somebody had called a general election, which meant that we'd not had a full council meeting, and therefore none of us had had the opportunity to bring or discuss or vote on this motion. Needless to say, I've not had a reply. Members will know, it's on my declarations of interest, that I serve on the expert group of the Commission for Countering Extremism. The Community Safety Trust tells us that in the first 6 months of 2019, reports of anti-Semitic hate crimes reached a record high. By October 2019, the proportion of racial hate crimes that were aimed at Jewish people had risen by 50%, again, the highest on record. Councillor Williams and I, along with the Mayor, Councillor Campbell and a number of others, were present at the Holocaust Memorial Day events in St Anne's towards the end of January, where we were fortunate enough to hear from a survivor of the Holocaust. And that prejudice continues against people because they are Jewish in this day and age is entirely unacceptable. And it is beholden upon all of us to make a very clear statement. That is why I've brought the motion, Lady Mayor. I believe that there will be support from it from across the chamber. I'd just finally like to thank Mark Levy from the Jewish Leadership Council, who I have met on a number of occasions to discuss this matter with. Mark has been very supportive of me and of the local authority, and I thank him for that friendship and that advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. And who is seconding this?
I will formally
Anyone? Councillor Campbell, cheers, thank you. Okay, any councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. The leader is absolutely right. We will support this 100%. But what I did say to the leader when we had a chat upstairs, that I was disappointed that in this day and age we have to bring this forward as a motion. I think that's a sadness. And I think that there are people both in the Labour Party, and let's face it, there have been some instances, and I do think that some Jewish people have overreacted to some of the situations and some of the things that have been said. When 350 Jewish members of the Labour Party leave and others are sacked, I think that's an overstep. But I do think, and I'm sorry to have to criticise that it goes back to Marxism, it goes back to the fundamental, very far left part of the Labour Party, which has changed. It is sad that we have to declare that we are not racist, that we are not anti-Semitic, that we don't judge people from whatever country they come from, or whatever language they support, or whatever religion they wish to believe in, or whatever faith they wish to believe in. It's a sad sign of the times. Nevertheless, I support this 100%, and I understand the reasons why the leaders brought to this, and I applaud them for doing so.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Mrs Callow.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I would like to thank Councillor Blackburn for bringing this notice of motion, and also for his very interesting talk. I only wish we had more time to listen. What really did touch me was the fact that there was a plaque there in Paris about the Nazis and the French police who'd gathered together some Jewish people and where they'd ended up. Now, we all know there've been war trials with Nazis, and I wonder if these French police, if they ever had to go on trial. I found that quite heartbreaking and dreadful thing, really was. But in my family, we have got a ring. It's not worth a lot of money. But my great-aunts did make friends with a Polish gentleman who was also Jewish. And he had escaped during the war. And he'd existed on eating soil to keep him going. and they were very, very kind to him. And as a thank you, he was a jeweller by trade, and he made them this ring. And I've got it to this day, and it will stay in our family, because this gentleman made that. And I just want to thank you so much for bringing this notice of motion. Thank you.
Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Blackburn, you're right to reply.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Williams, and Councillor Mrs. Callow, for your support and your comments. There are hundreds of thousands of individual stories of heroism which are connected with this particular period in history, and Councillor Mrs. Callow has very kindly shared one with us. I shall leave it at that, Lady Mayor. I thank everybody for the support, and let us hope that this is not an issue to which any of us ever have to return.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? I believe that's carried unanimously. On to our last item of business. This is a very strange thing to be doing. I can't believe we're nearly at the end of this 12 months, but we are where we are. This is it's very, very odd, very odd. So I would like to move the Mayor-elect, which I do believe Councillor Christian Cox has accepted, and he will be taking on the role for 2020-2021. I do hope you enjoy your year, and I hope you have plenty of time to plan for it, because God knows I didn't. 2 weeks I got, you've got 3 months, you're all right. Go out and buy yourself some new clothes, because you need loads of them. Councillor Williams, I believe you're seconding the motion.
I'm delighted to second this. I can't think of anyone more worthy than Councillor Cox, and not only that, it gives Councillor Blackburn and myself another year's grace of not doing it. Not that we wouldn't appreciate the honour. I think we both feel a little bit too busy. But Councillor Cox, I hope you have a great year, and you'll make all the votes go our way.
It don't work like that, I'm just warning you.
But be impartial at the same time.
Thank you very much. We don't have any further speakers on that, so I'm happy to support that, and congratulations. That's draws the meeting to... Oh, we've got to do a formal vote. I forgot about that bit. Oh, can we show all those in favour? It's kind of a bit tough if you don't, really, isn't it? Yeah, well, yeah, this is true. Yeah, don't do it. No. Thank you, everybody. That's close to the meeting.